Welcome to 3x5 News, Views, and Reviews. Scribble on index cards. We get in and we get out fast, so keep up. You're making me say that I've got nobody but you. But as from today, well, I've got somebody that's new. I ain't no fool, and I don't take what I don't want. For I have got another girl, another guy. He's sweeter than all the boys, and I've met quite a few. Nobody in all the world can do what he can do. And so I'm telling you, this time you'd better stop, for I have got another guy, another girl, who will love me till the end. Through thick and thin, they will always be my friend. Oh, why should you watch me? I mean, aside from my obvious vocal talents. After all, YouTube is replete with lengthy political conversations. That's not meant to be a criticism, because I find those on my favorite channels informative, brilliant even, personally incapable, not to mention uninterested in speaking at length. I aim to produce succinct analyses. I think you'll find them original, surprising, outside the box, and personal. In other words, you won't hear what I have to say anywhere else. Oh, one more thing. I goof around a lot. Let's dive in. Significant shrinkage. Under Trump, the U.S. is folding into itself. Trump wants us to believe that we don't need alliances such as with Europe, India, and South Korea, not to mention Mexico and Canada, that we are a rock, we are an island, that we should shrink from the world, fold into ourselves. But what if, as a direct or indirect result of Russia's relentless aggressiveness, the U.S. were attacked by Russia? Is the U.S. military so mighty it wouldn't need help? We already have shortages of missiles and drones, not to mention manpower due to our lack of a draft. Great Britain, Europe, and other nations such as Canada and Australia have all pitched in to help us with our cockamamie wars from Vietnam to Afghanistan and Iraq. But now we are washing our hands of Europe and providing only enough assistance to Ukraine to say that we are. Those nations might think twice about coming to our aid, NATO or no NATO. Besides, thanks to us turning our back on them, they may have been conquered by Russia by then. Go figure. This was just a prelude to explaining how and why we are hindering Ukraine defense from Russia. How includes pausing U.S. military aid at one point in the wake of Trump and Vice President Vance going off on Zelensky in the Oval Office in February, pausing it entirely. At present, the U.S. shares intelligence with Ukraine and sells, not gives, in a real thanks-for-nothing moment, new air defense systems and rockets for rocket launchers, along with assorted other weapons to not even Ukraine, but Europe. Europe then passes its old systems along to Ukraine. Just so cold. Considering that Ukraine is the front line of the whole Western world, we should be paying them to fight for us. Ukraine has grown to expect so little from us that it's grateful for scraps. Why won't Trump commit to helping Ukraine wholeheartedly? Most likely it's a jumble of emotions in his brain that he is uninterested in, not to mention incapable of sorting out. Leave us hearken back to the famous Delphic maxim of ancient Greece, know thyself. According to ChatGPT, viewed through the lens of today, know thyself requires developing self-awareness, humility, and authenticity. The first two are obviously non-starters with Trump, but authenticity, that currently overused term, is often considered part of his charm. But all that means to his supporters is that his default state is to speak off the cuff, but that's it. No honesty or sincerity, the definitions at the heart of authenticity required. Then there are the official reasons Trump isn't committing to Ukraine. The pivot to China, which involves less becoming friendly with China than competing with it, entails keeping Russia close, far from the embrace of China. How's that working out for you, Trumpies? Putin and Chinese President Xi Jinping have become key allies. Another apparent reason Trump won't commit to defending Ukraine is that he hasn't been able to end the war as quickly as he expected. As a result, he's become frustrated and bored. Also, of course, since Iraq and Afghanistan, much of the U.S. is leery of American involvement in foreign conflicts, partly for financial reasons. Another reason is that Trump thinks Zelensky is uncooperative because he refuses to cede territory to Putin, including some that Russia has yet to occupy. Like much of what Trump does, this defies logic. If you allow yourself to be conquered, you are hereby conquered. Next to Trump, the Ukraine war keeps Trump from making resource deals with Russia. Also, since Ukraine is part of Europe, Trump thinks the European Union, for which he has no love, should handle it. Meanwhile, of course, his infatuation with Putin waxes and wanes. At the moment, if Charlie Kirk is on Trump's what's hot list, Putin is on his what's not. But as all of us Accustomed to Trump-induced vertigo as we are, know that could change in a dime, on a dime. Possibly the number one reason Trump won't commit to Ukraine is one that's infused with his high-octane grievance, Trump's energy drink of choice. It requires us to return to 2019 when, shortly after Zelensky's election as president of Ukraine, he spoke with then-President Trump to ask for more military aid to defend Ukraine from the early incursions that Russia was making into Ukraine at that time. In return, Trump asked Zelensky to investigate Hunter Biden for possible corruption at a Ukrainian gas company with which Biden was affiliated. Also, Trump wanted Zelensky to investigate or even make up facts about a nonsensical conspiracy theory that Ukraine, not Russia, had interfered in the 2016 U.S. election. Not wishing to jeopardize his chances to obtain the military aid, Zelensky placated Trump by agreeing to cooperate, though he never did. By all rights, Trump should have been impeached for trying to extort Zelensky, but in fact, he was impeached for, as ChatGPT puts it, quote, using his office to solicit foreign interference in the 2020 election by pressuring Ukraine, unquote. Why exactly would this make Trump hostile to Ukraine and its president, even though Zelensky had agreed to help Trump with his machinations? Let's return to know thyself. In Trump's Crow-MAGA non-caveman dream brain, when Ukraine or Zelensky are mentioned to him, it triggers a caveman response. Me, impeached. Ukraine, Zelensky, bad. Trump never ceases to not amaze me, but mystify me. Possibly targeting a NATO base there, Russia recently sent drones into Poland and later into Romania, as well as flying over Estonian airspace. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said it was, quote, the closest we have been to open conflict since World War II, unquote. You can imagine how frightening it must have been because during World War II, Russia and Nazi Germany took turns devastating Poland. Then, as you've probably heard by now, Trump posted this on Truth Social, quote, what's with Russia violating Poland's airspace with drones? Here we go, unquote. First of all, what's with? He sounds like someone casually commenting on something that seems mildly annoying, but is only tangential to his life. Even weirder was when he followed that with, here we go. He sounds like an onlooker watching, just as it's about to get exciting, a sporting event, as opposed to something with possible world-changing consequences for the U.S. and Europe. Compounding those errors, he later reverted even deeper into his Russia-friendly default position when he said, quote, it could have been a mistake, unquote. Wish casting our woes away. Trump continues to bid for the title of weakest U.S. president since Warren Harding. We will leave it to, of all people, that rarity, a Ukraine-friendly Republican representative, Don Bacon of Nebraska. To sum it up, he tweeted, quote, Mr. President, Putin is the one who is the invader, and now this war is on your watch, and you'll be judged in the history books in the decades to come by your actions or lack thereof, unquote. Then, a few weeks ago, Trump stated in a Truth Social post that Ukraine could, open quote, fight and win, capital letters, win all of Ukraine back in its original form, unquote. Was this an about-face on his part? For what it's worth, he did affirm the U.S. would continue to sell those weapons to Europe for Ukrainian use. But he prefaced his statement by saying it was contingent upon the support of NATO and the European Union, not that of the U.S. There are no new sanctions, no call for a ceasefire or peace agreement, no new deadlines, however meaningless they turn out to be with him, and certainly nothing resembling new military support for Ukraine. As the New York Times' David Sanger wrote of Trump, slightly edited, he, open quote, appears to want to wash his hands of the Ukraine conflict after having no success bringing Putin to the negotiating table and a dwindling chance of acting as mediator between the two warring parties, unquote. When Trump concluded the post with, good luck to all, including Russia, it seemed to seal the deal, as when he said, here we go. It seemed to secure his status as an observer, a fan watching the game. The suspicion remains that despite his recent irritation with Ukraine, that his heart is still with the red team, not the blue and yellow team. Still, in about face number 873, Trump has approved long-range strikes into Russia with American missiles and providing intelligence for those strikes. Thus far, Ukraine has mostly been left to its own devices. It's sort of heartbreaking, actually, devising ingenious weapons and tactics all by themselves. They're not only on the front lines of a war for themselves, but to keep the war from reaching Europe and the U.S. Forget supporting Ukraine. The U.S. should be actually paying them, as I said. Europe is doing its best to rise to the occasion to help Ukraine, but to Americans, the kind of courage that Ukrainians routinely display is a currency withdrawn from circulation by the U.S. government.